Hi, I'm Joni Patry. Welcome to our Get Astrologic Now channel. And I want to talk about Mercury retrograde for the month of June of 2014 and how it will affect you personally. Mercury will go retrograde June 7th, and I'm speaking about the Vedic, which is the sidereal zodiac, not the Western zodiac. So Mercury is in the sign of Gemini in the sidereal zodiac. And Gemini is the sign of communications, travel. It's the sign of learning and education in youth. So all of these areas are going to become more prominent during this Mercury retrograde. So Mercury is going to turn retrograde on June 7th, and it's going to turn direct around July 1st or 2nd. Any time that a planet changes direction and turns retrograde or direct, the energy changes. And it's a time to pay attention and focus on this planet because it is going backwards in motion. So it appears to go backwards from our reference point on planet Earth. It is in the process that the planet's speed, that they bypass one another as they orbit the sun, and one tends to speed up and pass, and it appears that the other planet goes retrograde from our vantage point. When Mercury goes retrograde, it is a time to really reassess and reorganize and look back and understand, review things. And I think that people in our society and our culture are so trained to always be pushing forward, moving forward at top speed. But there's always a time that we must revert and pull back and reassess things. And this is what any retrograde for any planet is about, to pull back and reassess things. It's much like the ebb and flow of the tides. It's a time to push forward, but there's always a time to pull back and reassess things. And this is just a process that is a part of life. So when we refuse to take the time out to reassess anything, that's when things tend to get messed up and Mercury retrograde plays its course. Everything seems to go haywire. So we tend to get locked out of our house, lose our keys, our cars break down, the flight plans all go haywire, and there's cancellations. So if you know Mercury's retrograde, just plan for these things. It makes it so much better. Bring extra reading material, bring work to work on if you're traveling, because you know there's going to be delays. This is how we deal with retrograde times. But most importantly, depending on your ascendant sign, I want to tell you how you can make the best out of this retrograde period. So let's start with the sign Gemini, since Mercury is going to be in the sign of Gemini. So this means it's going to be in the first house. So this means it's a time to reassess yourself. It's a time for you to remake yourself, to reanalyze, to really, pretty much to reinvent yourself. So it's time to go get a makeover. It's time to buy new clothes. It's time to try a different hairstyle or just anything that makes you feel like you're reinventing yourself. That's what Mercury in the first house is all about. So if you have a Taurus ascendant, this means Mercury's in your second house. This pertains to financial issues. It's time for you to reassess where your money's going and how you are spending money. And if you're trying to spend money on anything in particular, put it into the area of financial planning. How are you, or maybe clean up your credit. Those type of areas are the best. This is the best thing for you to make your time work with Mercury retrograde. If you have an Aries ascendant, Mercury retrograde is a great time for you to start journaling, to start writing, and particularly making lists, because you see, since it's time for you to reassess things, when you're making a list, then when you go back, when Mercury goes direct in the month of July, you'll know exactly what needs to be worked on and what needs to be done. But I caution you, don't be signing any important paperwork or contracts, because Mercury in the third house does deal with signing contracts. So if you have to sign a contract, make sure that you read all the fine print and make sure what you're signing. That way you'll be on the safe side of things. Okay. If you have Pisces as your ascendant, this is a time of family reunions. It would be a time when you have family gatherings and parties and celebrations. Also, it may be a time for you to redo your house. Renovations may be in order. Or maybe you start looking and making plans to buy a new house. I wouldn't recommend that you buy the new house at this time, but just make the plans and reassess what you're really looking for in a home. Okay? So if you have Aquarius as your ascendant, this means you will be more creative. It's a time to really look into your creative projects and make sure that you finish out the ones that you've already started. It's not a time to begin new creative projects, but it is time to go back, reanalyze, and finish the ones you've started. If you have children, please listen to your children. It's a time when you really need to hear what they have to say. Talk to them more. And if you don't have children, it's a time for you to reconnect to a younger generation, to find out more about what's going on, what's new, what are the new trends in the world and society through the younger generations. If you have a Capricorn ascendant, it's time to get healthy. It's time for you to really look into your diet, how you're taking care of yourself, how you are eating, and your daily routines and exercise. These are very, very important. The breath, pay attention to your breath work. And even it might be a time for you to start some kind of yoga classes. But most of all, in the area of work, it may be time for you to get some help, to free up your time and have more time for the things that you want to do. So in other words, it may mean that it's time to hire some employees or either hire some help. Just make better use of your time. If you have Sagittarius as your ascendant, this is a time for you to pay attention and listen to your partner. There can be many miscommunications when Mercury's retrograde by just not listening or understanding what your partner's trying to say. So it is a good time to reassess conditions in your relationship and try to understand one another. And maybe the things that you've been ignoring or denying within your relationship need to be talked about at this time. If you have Scorpio as your ascendant, this is a time that you need to reassess your financial situation with your partner. You and your partner's money needs to be looked at in terms of how you share. Also, it may be a good time for you to reassess your financial matters and look into getting insurance, whether it's on your property or your car. This will be money well spent. Okay, and if you have Libra as your ascendant, this is a time when you feel more inclined to explore your spiritual thoughts and realities. Also, please pay attention. There's a teacher, a very special teacher you may have, may not necessarily be a classroom teacher, but it could be, that has a very important message for you. Pay attention. And you might find that you will be traveling, and if you do, just make sure you bring enough reading material in case of delays or setbacks in your travel plans. If you have Virgo as your ascendant, this is a time for you to reassess your career and your understanding of what your expectations are in your work and how you want your job to go. What is your purpose in your work? What are your expectations? It's a time to really reassess this. This will make your work so much better in the future once you really understand what your expectations are around the workplace and with your job and your boss. If you have Leo as your ascendant, this is a time when old friends will come from out of the woodwork. Just old friends you haven't seen in a long time will suddenly come out and surprise you. It's a great time to reconnect with people from the past. And also, it's a good time for you to start hanging out with some younger people and try to understand, what's hip, what's new, and what's exciting in this world. I suspect you're going to be going to more social events during this time. And if you have Cancer as your ascendant, this is a time for you to finish up old projects. This is a time of bringing things to conclusions, to endings and closure in many areas of things that you've been working on for quite some time. So this is a very positive time for bringing things to an end and finishing things that you've already started, finishing these projects up. There will be closures with this. It'll make you very, very happy. You might find that this is a good time for traveling or exploring things of the past. You'll find people will come of the past, and also you'll find that there's like these mental telepathy where you think of somebody and all of a sudden they call you or they appear. Your psychic abilities will be very strong at this time. So that covers all the 12 ascendants and signs. If you need more information, please go to my website, which is getastrologicnow.com. And if you're interested in reading more articles or you want an appointment for an astrological reading by me, please go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Thank you.